Hey, hey, hey. Welcome to Loving Arms of God. My name is Jennifer. Welcome back. So, today my message is going to be a review from the story of Kirk Franklin. It's called Father's Day. Kirk Franklin. This is a Kirk Franklin story review on the Father's Day story he talked about on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, I strongly suggest that you watch it because it's worth the watch and it's worth the listen. For those who haven't watched it, I am going to give a detailed summary, because my message has to do with the video, with his story. So I'm going to get into it, and I'm going to start off with scriptures. We're persecuted but not abandoned, struck down but not destroyed. That's according to 2 Corinthians 4:9 NIV. We are hunted down, but never abandoned by God. We get knocked down, but we are not destroyed. That is according to 2 Corinthians 4:9 NLT. That is another version. And many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. He keeps all his bones, and not one of them is broken. That's according to Psalm 34:19-20. Okay. So, Kirk Franklin, I don't really follow him like that, to be honest. But once I saw his testimony, his story, I was like, wow, I'm definitely gonna go listen to his album when it comes out. Kirk Franklin, he is one of the biggest selling gospel artists in history. Okay, he won 19 Grammys. He was adopted at 4. He had no birthday parties as a child. He didn't have birthday cakes, candles, gifts, stuff like that. He didn't have any siblings or relatives. He was raised alone. I think he was dropped off. By the woman that raised him. I think the birth mother dropped him off to the aunt's door or something like that. He hasn't seen his biological mother. He only seen his biological mother 1 to 3 times a year. He never knew his father. He was abandoned. He was rejected. He had a lonely life. He never had a real home. And music was his escape. Playing the piano. So that was his escape music. His story, Kirk Franklin's story, is so powerful. It's so powerful, and I feel like it's so relevant. The reason why I chose to talk about it is because me and Kirk Franklin actually have a lot in common. And the main things that we pretty much have in common are we both went through a lot growing up, aka we both went through hell on earth, and we both have trauma from growing up in dysfunctional families. That's pretty much the main stuff that we have in common. Also, growing up in my childhood, I didn't get to do a lot of things that a lot of other people got to do. I didn't have a childhood. And what I mean by that is I I didn't get to have people over, like friends over. I didn't get to have sleepovers. I didn't get to do a lot of things. It was a loveless, lifeless household that I grew up in. I didn't get to, I couldn't even go in my backyard. Like, it was a problem to go in my backyard. Like, couldn't even go in my backyard to play, you know? It's like, it was very, very, very dark and lonely. It was, I didn't get to experience a healthy, childhood. As Kirk Franklin, just like Kirk Franklin, I was abandoned, I was rejected by family, by my own flesh and blood. I never had a real home either. That's why I always say I lived in a house. I say that because it wasn't a home. It was never a home. I finally have a home. When I moved out on my own, which I am now, it's been almost 3 years now. That's when I got a home. So at 30 years old is when I had an actual home. 30. That's a long time. So just like Kirk Franklin's escape was playing the piano, music, my escape as a child was singing. That was always my escape. So I find that interesting. I kind of feel a little connected to him a little bit. It's weird how you could feel connected to someone by similar things that you've gone through. Music is powerful, and it's powerful when you share. Like, you know, I give him props, by the way. Like, I really do give him props because he didn't plan to share this. He happened to be recording everything as it was happening, and then he was like, wow, God gave him the courage to share with the world. Because what he shared it's not like he shared his dirty laundry. He shared like personal things with the world. And he did it. I'm happy that he did it because a lot of people wouldn't do that. And he pretty much was naked in front of the whole world about what's going on in his life. But he did that for a purpose. And I think that's a positive thing that he did. And I feel like I give him props for doing it because it takes courage to do something like that. He literally recorded the whole thing as he was recording his new album that's coming out. He recorded this whole thing and he decided to share it with the world. So I commend him for that, for sharing. So in the middle of creating his album, his 13th album, this was what was going on while he was recording this album. So apparently, like, a friend of his, you know, her name is Melanie, and she sings. A friend of him that sings, who he knew since she was a little girl, went to a family funeral for his biological aunt he chose not to attend to. Melody's dad had a close childhood friend named Rick. Rick said to Melody's family, randomly at this funeral that Kirk Franklin was not at, that he dated Deborah when he was a little boy, which is Kirk Franklin's birth mother. During this random interaction, this random conversation at a funeral, because of rumors that he could be Kirk Franklin's dad, Kirk Franklin decided to take a DNA test on his own, and he gave the test results to Melody. Oh, correction. He did a DNA test, and he found out that it was a 99.9999% match. He lost it. He was pacing back and forth. He lost it when he found out that this was his dad. Mind you, what's messed up about this is there's this man named Dwight, and he thought that he was, told to believe that that was his birth father, but it wasn't. He wasn't. He died of cancer, and he thought that was his birth father. So could you imagine, what he was going through? And he finds out that this man is his dad at this funeral. So his birth mother basically lied to him. So his mother lied to him about who his father was the first time, the Dwight guy that died of cancer. Okay. Then he finds this out. So then Kirk had to basically process a lie. In my opinion, through my experience, processing a lie or processing lies it's painful stuff. Because I had to do it. I was lied to my whole life, pretty much, about a lot of things. And when you get lied to, and you have to relearn the truth. You have to unlearn the lie, and then you have to relearn the truth. It's a painful process. There's a misconception that Christians are on cloud nine and that we don't go through stuff and everything is all sunshine and rainbows every day. First of all, Christians are not exempt from having problems in life. We go through stuff too, just like the rest of y'all. Whether you believe in God or not, we all go through stuff. This is life. Okay, Christians are not exempt. Look at Kirk Franklin. Kirk Franklin was clearly, this is a gospel artist. This is this is a man of God. This man of God had a messed up childhood, messed up upbringing, just like I did. He was born in a dysfunctional family, just like I was. So Christians go through pain. Christians go through suffering. Christians go through trials and tribulation. To continue, so Kirk Franklin buried the man he thought was his father that he hated, mind you. Okay. Kirk hasn't seen his biological mother, Deborah, in over 20 years. So Deborah's sister, his aunt Sandra, very, very, very rude. Very rude. So he basically took control of his own life, and he went to find out what's going on, and he made sure that it wasn't manipulated in any way. And he decided to have all these meetings with all these people on the same day. He met up with his he met up with his aunt that raised him, I believe, and then he met up with his birth mother, and he met up with his biological father on the same day. Jesus, that's a lot. All in the same day. The journey of life, he said, one of the things he said in the video was, the journey of life can be very messy. But this was his beautiful mess. It's crazy because I always say that about my life. And I actually have a something on my wall in my apartment that actually says beautiful mess. Like, it's crazy. So I feel the same way about my life. My life is a beautiful mess as well. Or I should say, yeah, basically my story. Like, my life is great. It's awesome. It's beautiful. But I mean, my testimony, it's a beautiful mess. It is. It really is. So I can relate to that as well. One moment. So Kirk Franklin, he has always been, because he didn't have a father. He never knew who his father was until now. He is, how old is Kirk Franklin? Is he's 53 years old. So he met his biological father at 53 years old. Kirk Franklin said that he has always been insecure because he didn't know who he was his whole life. I could relate. I didn't know who I was my whole life until I found Jesus, basically. Kirk Franklin lived in a history of trauma. He's his therapist's longest patient. That's what he said. There's nothing wrong with going to therapy. I even went to therapy before once. Nothing wrong with going to therapy. So on May 26, 2023, Kirk Franklin meets his biological father for the first time to reveal the results of the DNA test. He felt anxious and he felt numb. So when he went to go meet up with his aunt, Aunt Sandra, that raised him, it was very toxic. Very toxic. I got really watching it through the screen of my TV and my phone. I was actually, because I went through something similar in terms of dysfunctional family, being born in a dysfunctional family and going through the same type of trauma he did for the most part, I felt so, I could feel what he felt because I went through it already. So I was so I got so angry at the way his aunt was talking to him. His aunt, I'm going to tell you what his aunt said. I literally wrote this down. Because this is, I'm going to tell you where this stems from. So when he met up with his Aunt Sandra, and so basically he found out that the guy, he found out that the guy, he found out that his, 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 that the guy, he found out that h his child, that the girl that he knew from childhood, she found out at a funeral, family funeral, that this man was his father. After he got the DNA test, found out it was positive, then he decided to have a meeting with the woman who raised him and his biological mother. And then after that, no, wait, did he? I think, no, I'm lying. I'm sorry. He met up with the biological father first, and then he met up with the aunt that raised him and his birth mother. So when he met up with the aunt, soon as he opened the door, he didn't even get out the car. I don't blame him. He didn't even get out the car. And she says, one moment, and pull it up. She says, oh, I'm not gonna, say the curse word, but she says, get your you-know-what out. This is a grown man. Get your beep out the car, basically. Kirk was like, did she sign the man that works for him? Like, did she sign the papers? Because she has to sign papers. She says, I will sign them on the inside. Kirk says, sign it right now, Auntie Sandra, please. He was polite, respectful. He didn't entertain the foolishness. And then Kirk says, and then Kirk asked if Deborah signed the papers yet. And then she says, your mother is not here yet. Kirk said, you know what Kirk said? I'm going to stay in the car until my mother gets here. I'm going to tell you what that is. What that is people like that, because I've gone through it and I still go through it in a way till this day, which is why I'm going to get into what I'm going to get into. So sometimes in life, not sometimes, most times when you're born in a dysfunctional family and you're trying to have a functional life and have your own functional family someday, you got to separate yourself. You got to separate yourself from that. You got to heal. And you can't heal in the same place you were broken. So, and that's a choice. Healing is a choice. A lot of people who are born in a dysfunctional family or abusive family or household or what have you, they choose to remain there in ignorance, etc., etc. What I recognize, I'm gonna be honest. What I recognize when I watched his testimony, his story, I recognize familiar spirits. Familiar spirits. It was so familiar. Familiar spirits. His aunt has a familiar spirit. So does his mother. It's not normal to talk to a grown man that way, the way that his aunt did. That's not normal. That's dysfunctional. That's toxic. What I've realized and experienced is that sometimes there are demons inside people that don't like you. They're agitated by your presence. I'm saying this off of experience. It could be your mother. It could be your father. It doesn't matter who it is. Because we're not wrestling against. There's a scripture. I'm not even going to summarize it. I'm just going to bring it up. there's a scripture that says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." That's according to Ephesians 6:12, King James Version. This is what we're battling against. We're not battling against the physical person. We're battling against spiritual forces, things, principalities. This is what we're battling. So yes, he was physically talking to his aunt and his mother, but those demons, those familiar spirits, that's what he's dealing with. That's what he's dealing with. I have a little story I'm gonna share. You're not gonna believe this, but this is a true story. This is like a little example of what I'm talking about. I kinda could, I'm not gonna say kinda. I have the ability to hear and see, for the most part, when there's a demon in someone. Like, if a demon is speaking through someone, I know it's a demon. Okay, if there's a familiar spirit there, I know it's a familiar spirit. Like, I'm able to discern these things because I've been around them my whole life. Okay, so for example, I'm on Jamaica Avenue, and I'm waiting for a train or a bus or something like that. I'm waiting on public transportation, and I'm on Jamaica Ave. I hate going to Jamaica Avenue. I only go there when I have to. There's a lot of stuff going on there spiritually that I sense when I go. So I'm waiting inside, and there's this glass in front of me, and I kid you not, no lie, I'm standing there minding my business by myself, waiting. And then this man walks. There's a glass between us. I don't know this man. He's a stranger. And he walks past me. This is so like creepy. He walks past me. Literally walks past me. He stops directly in front of me. He turns to me. He looks at me with he looks at me very intensely, and he looks angry. He looks agitated. He's just standing there like this, like that, like, and I turn around, like, I look to the side. I turned around to see if there was somebody behind me that he was looking at. He was looking at me, and I'm like, and I moved back from the glass, like, and he finally walked away. Guess what that was? You think it was just, the guy just, yeah, he may have something wrong up there, yes. But guess what that was? When he was looking at me, I saw a demon looking at me. It was literally a demon looking at me through this man. Or maybe demons, plural, more than one. That's what that was. That's not the first time I experienced that. I'm not going to say who it was. All I'm going to say is I experienced that growing up. Someone very, very close to me. I'm not going to say who it is. I experienced this in my own house growing up. Someone very, very close to me used to do this to me a lot. Used to give me those looks. And the look I'm talking about, the best way I could describe it to you, it's a look of hate. It's the look in their eyes is a look of hate. When someone looks at you with love, you're going to know. This is a look of hate in their eyes. Hate. I grew up experiencing this from someone very close to me, a relative. Randomly would just look at me like that. Very, very, very uncomfortable. I went through this. So I went through this again with a stranger. It's the same thing. It's demonic. It's a demon. Because I'm a child of God. Okay? So I'm a threat. It's a demon looking at me that way through the vessel of the person, the being. That's what that was. That stuff is real. This stuff is real. It's in the Bible. It's real stuff. So I'm just saying, demons are real. The devil is real. Satan is real. And so is God. Oh, thanks. 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 My hair, I actually have to get my hair redone, but thank you for the compliment. But yeah, so to continue what I was saying, this is why I write notes, y'all, because I could ramble on and on and on. So that's why I like to write my notes. All right, to continue what I was saying, yeah, so that's the way his aunt spoke to him in the car, and he decided to have boundaries by staying in the car to wait for his biological mother to come. You gotta have boundaries with people, especially unhealthy, toxic, dysfunctional people. You need to have boundaries. And if they take offense to that, oh well, you gotta do what you gotta do for your life. You gotta do what you gotta do to protect you, to better you. You gotta do what you gotta do. Nothing wrong with having boundaries. Love is boundaries. Kirk Franklin said the pattern... Oh, before I say that, Kirk Franklin said that after his aunt talked to him that way, he said that he felt like he was being treated and talked to like a 10-year-old little boy. Watch it for yourself. It's true. I've experienced it as well. People like that, I'm telling you, if they choose not to change, they will remain that way for the rest of their lives. And you got to do what you got to do to protect your life from that. And if you don't, and you just limit access from family members like that, limit access from people like that. You have to just limit access. I'm not saying you can't, talk to them or don't talk to them or whatever. I do it. I'm telling you right now, I do it. And I do it because I know what God is trying to do. I know what God is trying to do in me and through me. And this is why he got me out when he did during COVID. He said, okay, time's up. It's time for you to move on now. So, Kirk Franklin said the pattern of trauma is a very difficult pattern to try to rewrite. Amen. It really is. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult. It's true. He also said systematic issues sometimes encompasses those that are trying to rewrite, like myself, like him, and rework can make the battle more difficult. Like systematic issues, he's basically talking about when you're dealing with like the people that are toxic, the people that are dysfunctional, the people that are unhealthy and blah, blah, blah. When you're dealing with all of that, and you're trying to do what you got to do for your life and for yourself, and you're trying to make peace, and you're trying to rewrite your story and do things differently, when you're dealing with those dynamics, especially family dynamics, it's really difficult to try to rewrite and rework your story while dealing with all of that at the same time. That's basically what Kirk Franklin was trying to say. Because I'm experiencing it too. But you know what? I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And I'm doing it because I'm doing it with God. I'm doing it with Jesus. So I'm successfully doing it. I am not going to be like those who hurt me. I'm going to rise above. I have risen above. And I'm going to set a new narrative. I'm a generational curse breaker. I'm a trauma breaker. I'm a cycle breaker. I refuse to continue what was done, what was passed down to me. I will not continue that. It ends with me. It runs in your family. Well, guess what? It don't run with me. It ends with me. And you have to make that decision for your life if you've gone through the same things. He told his mother, birth mother, biological mother, he told his mother not knowing how to love, her not knowing how to love made him not know how to love himself, his wife, and people. Facts. He said he loves through fear and performance. Kirk also said he always wanted people to like him because he always wanted acceptance by his mother and father, who he wanted to love him the most, obviously. His biological mother, Deborah, guess what? This is crazy. I couldn't believe this. Well, it's typical, but I couldn't believe it. When he said, after he did the DNA test and he approached his biological mother about it, guess what? The biological mother said the DNA test is not true when they met up with the woman that raised him. So at the request of Deborah, his biological mother, she wanted to be present while a second DNA test was administered. So he did. Guess what? The second DNA test also confirmed that Rick is Kirk Franklin's biological father. Kirk's biological mother still did not accept the DNA test results. What I'm going to say about that is sometimes in life, it could be mainly people closest to you. They're going to lie to you. And they're going to keep lying to you. Like, you can't change people. People change themselves because they want to change. If you want change, you got to change. I wanted change, so I changed. His mother still lied to him after she's seen the physical DNA test. She's still lying to her son. So guess what? Boundaries. Get boundaries. Guess what Kirk said? Kirk was like, you know what? Because the biological mother was like, is this gonna put a wedge between us? Kirk was like, yes, it's over. He basically said in a nutshell, if you can't give me this truth, he said, this is the little boy talking to you right now. Like, I'm asking you for the truth. That's all I'm asking for. If you can't give me this, we're done. That's basically what Kirk said. I don't blame the guy. This is called boundaries, people. Boundaries. So she's crying and blah, blah, blah. Please. She's still lying. So Kirk said, if you can't tell the truth, nothing can substitute he's saying this. He said, if you can't tell the truth, nothing can substitute what I deserve, what I needed, and what I've missed. This is what Kirk said to his mother after she's still lying about the DNA test. Listen, hurt people, and healed people heal people. So Kirk basically has to live with the reality that his mother, this sucks, but he has to live with the reality that his birth mother, his biological mother, can't give him, what he needs, what he deserves. And he must make the difficult choice or choices of what he can give her. It is what it is. It is what it is. So, the last part of this, Kirk has issues with his biological son. So, the last part of this story, he basically met up with his biological son, his 24-year-old, no, not 24-year-old. I don't know how old he is, but he met up with his son basically. So that was the last part of the story. Before I get to that, Kirk, I think he was asked in an interview, what would you tell your 24-year-old self? And Kirk said, what you do is not who you are. He would tell his 24-year-old self, what you do is not who you are, and your identity was never to be in your gift. That is a powerful statement. And it's a true statement. Kirk has had challenges with his son and shared the news about his grandfather with him, hoping for reconciliation. Kirk hasn't seen or spoken to his son, Carry On, in 2 years. His son had said that was the only thing that he needed that's been missing from his life. He has everything he wants but his dad and his grandfather. There is nothing else that he asks God for every single day that he woke up. And he was crying like a little boy when Kirk Franklin updated him on all of this. What I also realized watching his story is that how powerful praying for someone else is. His son was basically praying for this whole time. Prayer changes things. He didn't even know this. His son was praying about his relationship with his dad, Kirk, and he was also praying about his grandfather that he didn't even know about because they didn't know who he was. He was praying about this whole time. And look at God, just turn it around. Prayer really does change things. And praying for other people is powerful. Especially when you're a child of God. Especially when you're saved. Especially when you have a relationship with Christ. The reason why I say that is, no offense to y'all, but it's in the word. When you don't have a relationship with God, when you're not in covenant with God and you pray, He doesn't really listen to you. It doesn't really listen to you. The word says the prayer of a righteous one availeth much. When you're living in sin, you're choosing to do what you want. You don't want to follow God. You don't want to listen to God. You don't love God. You don't this. When you pray, He's like turning a deaf ear. So that's why I say that. Yeah, so that's amazing that his son was praying for that. This, like, and the Kirk didn't even know, and then all this happened. Like, it's amazing. So when we pray for one another, we get to participate in the activity of heaven, basically. So Kirk apologized to his son, and his son accepted the apology and said that he forgave his father because his father had forgiven him for everything he's done. There's still a work in progress, but bottom line, a father and son have been reconciled. Kirk has been reconciled with his son. It was so beautiful. Kirk and his father. It's crazy because Kirk and his biological father were reconciled, and Kirk and his biological son were also reconciled because of that. So I think that's pretty cool, pretty amazing. I didn't grow up not knowing my biological father or anything like Kirk Franklin, but I will say, though I grew up in a household with a physical mother and father, that does not mean that they were present in every way that I needed them to be. And what I mean by that is, I never went through not having water in the house. I never went through not having the electric cut off. I never went through not having food on the table. I never went through the fridge being empty. I never went through none of that stuff. Not having clothes on my back, stuff like that. They did a great job with that. And I'm thankful for that. But I didn't have anything else. I just had those things. My needs, all my needs were not met as a child and as a teenager and as a young adult. Those needs were, my emotional needs were not met. My other needs were not met. Like, yes, a child has more needs than just what I just listed. Though I had those things, though I was blessed to have those things, my other needs were not met. They were never met. So that's not good, and that's not healthy, and it affects you. So one thing I will say, when I have kids, I am going to do everything in my power to meet their every need, because I know what it's like not to have certain important needs met, other than food on the table and clothes on my back and the light on and water on. A child has more needs than just that. So I will make sure there will not be a day on this earth that my future children will not know that they're loved. They will know that they're loved. every single day. That's one of the many things I'm going to make sure of. They're going to know they're loved. And their needs, all of their needs, will be met to the best of my ability. Kirk Franklin also said something that's also profound that I forgot to mention. He said, love is a muscle that has to be trained. And if it's never been trained, just because you get introduced to it doesn't mean you know how to receive it. He also said, I think you become indoctrinated in trauma. Then you become institutionalized in your trauma. You wonder, who am I well? Because all I've only known is to be broken. I've literally said this, because I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm still healing from, crap that I've been through till this day, and I've wondered, because healing is a lot of work, and healing is painful, and healing is, it's a lot. So I've asked myself this too, wow, all I've ever known is being broken. I literally said this to myself as well. All I've ever known is being broken. How do I know what being whole is like? How do I know? How am I well? I literally asked myself the same thing. So that's crazy. I could relate to Kirk Franklin in many ways. But yeah, it's this stuff is his story is powerful. His story is powerful. And I'm just so thankful he shared it with the world. Because there's a lot to learn from his story. There's a lot to take from his story. There really is. And I will just end the video by saying, the last thing I'm going to say is, I feel like deep down inside, all of us, whether you're saved or not, whether you're a Christian or not, whether you're black or white, as long as you're human, I feel like deep down we're all just trying to find our way back home. That's honestly my opinion. So, that's all I got. That is the end of my video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you were blessed. And yeah, that's a wrap. So remember to turn your pain into power. I will see you in my next video. Bye.